Okay, so I'm here with Scott. Scott, what's your last name?
Simpson.
Scott. Well, Scott's just graduated from Messiah College, and he wants to learn a little bit about real estate, and I'm here to answer any questions you have, Scott. So
Yeah,
start
absolutely.
asking away.
Well, you kind of talked about getting started with nothing.
Yeah.
Why don't you walk me through that process and one, why you wanted to do real estate and how you got into it without much to begin with?
Yep. So when I graduated college, I went to Penn State for engineering,
Okay.
and when I graduated college, I came home, and my dad had already kind of started a project. We were going to build a 55 and over community out in
Okay.
Logerville, and we actually did do it. The problem is we did it with no money. Like my
Right.
dad didn't have any money. We stumbled into the project, and we were always behind the eight ball on money. It was the right time. We just couldn't build it fast enough. So then we ended up taking on a partner for that. It was a 240 unit mobile home park.
Okay.
Right now, I think there's about 100 units done in it, and ironically, we just kind of sold it the past few months. So in January, we sold it. So we sold our share. We only owned 40%, but we did walk
Right.
away with about $1 million.
Okay.
So that was the good part.
Yeah.
It was like 15 years to make 50. I mean, we poured our
Yeah.
life into that thing. So, our dad got us into real estate. We built houses when we were in high school. Like we built houses in the summer of high school
Okay.
when we were 15, 16. A friend of
Yeah.
ours was a builder, and we went and to this guy's. We went to his house, and he lived in the house while he was building it. So we
Yeah.
learned all the ways to build houses.
Okay.
And I mean, if you were hammering a nail on the roof and the nail went out in the yard, like you would have to go get the nail out of the yard.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. If you couldn't find the nail, like he had a meltdown, and a lot of times we had to leave for lunch. Like this guy was really,
Yeah.
his name was Bob, and Bob
Right.
was really anal. I don't think we definitely don't go to that extent. Like I can let
Yeah.
the nail, I want to get the house done, so I'll let the nail go in the yard these days. But we literally learned how to build in high school.
Yeah.
Our dad was he developed actually developments. He did a development. He almost went under with that development. So that's why I always
Yeah.
think back of a development. If you don't have money, you shouldn't do developments.
Okay.
But so we got into construction at an early age. When I graduated from college, I started building houses to fund our mobile home park venture that we were doing.
Okay.
And we were a builder, and building was hot then. So we were building houses, and I was working with the crews in the field. Like I've did framing, I've shingled probably 200 houses myself.
Right.
I stayed in the field too long. So I think it's good to learn in the field a little bit, but don't stay there too long. I stayed
Right.
in the field probably for like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
like a
very
long time. I hired managers to help run the company, but I was still working in the field, and that's a mistake.
Yeah.
So I would never go back and do that again. Although I knew everything on how to build a house, and I'm very good at it. And I feel like everything we've done since then is based on construction and flipping houses, and we build some houses. And
Yeah.
I think I still have that backbone helps, so we're really good at construction.
Sure.
So that catapulted us into construction.
Okay.
And I told you a little bit ago, we got into selling real estate as realtors.
Right.
So when back in 2008, and you weren't quite, the housing market was terrible then.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Like everyone was going bankrupt. All builders were going bankrupt. We morphed into something else and came out the other side.
Okay.
And now we're into rentals because people always need a place to live. So I told you we're into rental properties, and we do flip about 40 houses a year.
Okay.
I don't think
Do
I
you
told you that.
No. Do you focus more on single family, multifamily, and residential or commercial?
So single family has been my whole, focus for
It's been the bread and
for the
butter.
longest time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you is, so I own about 200 single rental properties.
Okay.
Now, I bought 100 in 1 year. So
Right.
imagine buying 100 rental properties around Carlisle. We didn't fix them all up the way they should be. So now when we're 10 years later, so some of the people haven't moved out. So when someone moves out, it's lived there for 10 years, they cost me $15,000, $20,000.
Right.
So it's been hard to cash flow the way that I did it. So I might make, on my 200 that I own by myself, like $10,000 a month.
Okay. Wow.
Doesn't sound like a,
No.
on 200, that
Yeah.
doesn't sound great, does it?
No.
So then I went and bought, I told you in the last 3 years, we bought 250 units.
Yeah.
250. No, maybe like 450 units.
Okay.
450 units.
Last 2 years.
Last 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
I make 35,000 a month on those.
Yeah.
And I only own I own a small percentage. So
Okay.
so I only own like 18% of that.
Right.
And if you did the math, that's like 18% times 450, that's like 90 rentals I own.
Yeah. That's quite the
Compared to
return.
200, I
Yeah.
make 10,000. Here I make 35,000.
So what's the difference? They're just
I think
they're updated more.
They're updated more,
Yeah.
and when you buy at scale, like, and we predominantly buy like 70 units or more now. So there's 70 in one location. There's one person there doing the management and the maintenance.
Okay.
We've hired like
Oh, that's huge.
but when I have 70 units all over Carlisle,
Yeah.
it's a mess. You can't get your eyes on them. There could be stuff going wrong with them. Now, I think it was good. I don't think I'd be where I'm at now if I didn't buy those. Now, did I need 200 of them? Probably not. You know, I could have bought 5, 10, 15, got the hang of it, and then
Well, even if the cash flow's low on them now, it's there's still been an equity. It's still something either to pull money from or sell off,
Yep.
years from now. So there's not really a downside unless you're losing money on them, which doesn't sound like you are.
Correct. But there were years where we might have lost money too. I'm not adding all that up because rents are now going up, so it's actually getting better as we speak. And I did this year sell off about 20 of those units and made $1.3 million.
Okay.
So, you know, had I not bought them, sucked through it, and I owned them for only 5 years.
Well, $1.3 million net.
Well, if you take that's before tax. After you
Okay.
take the tax out, it's right around $1 million.
Right. Now people talk about the return on real estate a lot, and the yearly return only seems to be about 8 to 12%. But I guess the tax benefits
Okay.
can really improve that return rate.
So I don't get into the percentage you're talking about, but I would say most people try to buy a rental property and make anywhere from $200 to $300 a month.
Okay.
Positive cash flow. And then major returns, you know, if you're making, let's say you're making $300 a month and that's $3,600 in a year, and you make that for 2 years, but then you have a major turn, like someone trashes your place,
Yeah.
that could eat up $5,000 of that money. So that the cash flow sometimes can go up and down depending on the property. I would say if it's, now when I buy a single family, and I still buy single families, I will buy it and completely fix it up, which means I have to get it at a discount. Then I'll completely fix it up. And when it turns then again, it's a lot cheaper to turn the second time. Does that make sense? So it's more predictive. I can predict the income and expenses more. And if it's nicer, you typically get a better tenant.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
I don't have a percentage on what it makes, but then here's the cool thing. Once you become a real estate professional, which after you own 5 or 10 properties, you can get the realtor status. You don't have to be a realtor, but you can get the real estate status, and then you can start bonus depreciating properties.
Okay.
I did pay a lot of tax last year because I only bought 37 apartments last year. The 2 years before that, that's when I bought the majority of them,
Yeah.
and I didn't pay any tax those 2 years.
Yeah.
This year I'm paying. I just wrote a check for $325,000 for tax.
That's fun.
It's not fun.
No.
Not fun at all. Now I have substantially more in my tax account
Sure.
to do it. So we budget. You know, income comes in, we take profit here, we take taxes here, we take overhead here, and it's all like it just goes in its place.
Now, another question was, I guess you base your business in Carlisle.
Yes.
That's where you live. One thing I've considered is moving, and I mean, real estate's, pretty much what I'm committed to. I want to do this regardless, whether it's here or anywhere.
Yep.
But one thing I have considered is just the market cap of the area, Do you think you'd have it seems like no matter where you are, your returns are the same rate, but the returns for an area where the average building you're buying is maybe $1 million, that return's gonna be a lot smaller where the average return for the area is maybe, or the average value for property is like 10 million.
Yeah.
So do you think that's impacted? Do you think that makes it much harder?
The hard part is I've grown up here. I have kids here. I have family here. It's hard for me. My wife would love to move to Florida tomorrow, right? Nicer weather, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But it gets harder. My 12-year-old's got friends, and
Yeah.
it gets harder to say I'm going to go somewhere else. I've done pretty good here, and I feel like I've still got, I could do more here. So what area would you go? Like, let's say you go to Philly, right? I have friends that are flipping in Philly, and they're buying houses for $300,000-$400,000 and selling them for $600,000. So they've got to spend a lot more money to do what I do.
Right.
And the cost of living is double there. Everything's
Yeah.
if everything's more there, and then I don't even know, rentals might be harder in those areas. Or if you're going to Philly, the only way to get a cheap rental is to really go into an area that's questionable.
Right.
The questionable areas in Carlisle are great.
Yeah.
I don't have, not an issue. But when you have to buy cheaper properties in cities, it could get a little bit more, could be different.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense.
What area were you thinking about?
Arizona or Florida.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Florida's booming right now. Everything's going up, up, and up.
Yeah, they both are.
And it probably will stay that. It probably won't, because people are moving there from from New York, and they're just because they can work remotely right now.
Yeah.
But some of those areas are just going up. Let me give you an example. So let's say a $200,000 house here in Carlisle versus a couple years ago versus now. Okay, 200 a couple years ago. Right now, the house might be like 240, 250. That $200,000 house in Florida might be 300 or 350.
Right.
Like it gets the huge waves, but when it crashes, it dives down.
Yeah.
So a 200, like we'll do the San Diego, a $300,000 house a couple years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago. Well, first of all, let's call it an $800,000 house because there is no 200.
What you're getting out.
So an $800,000 house is now 1.1 million. And a couple years ago, 4 years ago, when I was out in San Diego, I looked back at prices from when the last recession happened, and the basic like 800 square foot houses were like 200,000 and 300,000 in San Diego. And when a couple years, this was 3 or 4 years ago, before COVID, and I looked at what they were going for 3 years ago. That same 200, 250 house was 800 and 900, and it was a 1,100 square foot fixer. Like we walked through it, I'm like, people really live in this thing. Like it was 800 or 900,000, and they said, oh, we have multiple offers, and that was 3 years ago, and and it's only going up. That's probably like 1,000,001. So we're going from back in the crash, 250, 300, and now it's 1,000,001. I don't how does that work? It's
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Yeah. So I mean, that was my thought with it, where like I said, I'm graduating. I don't really have any connections necessarily, so. If I was going to move, I figured now the time, and I would just want to get your take on how much that would influence. Obviously, I would think, many more times difficult to get into the business in an area like that. Yeah. But is that reasonable?
I think I could anywhere that I go.
Okay.
And so I can give you some. I would, if I were doing it over again, I think I would just get around people that are doing it. Like
not necessarily concerned about where it is, just more who you're around.
Yeah, I don't think I would be concerned about where it is. I would just be in and around it. I'll give you an example. So Brian Shawley, he's 25 years old right now. So I think 2.5, 3 years ago, he came, he interviewed a couple times, and I'm like, I liked him. He was very aggressive. I was like, well, he's going to come here and just want to do something for 6 months, learn how to do everything and go. And so, well, it's been 3 years now. So now instead of, I think he had 1 or 2 rental properties, now he has 30. And he's still working here. He's moved divisions within the company, and so he's been around it every day. He's learning how we're buying, and he's gone out and bought, and he owns like 30 rental properties. I'm not saying that's the way to go, but I'm just giving you an example of what I know. And he's 25 now. Okay. So 2 years ago, he had 2 properties. He came here because he knew we were buying real estate, and he's come here. He's helped us buy more, and he's bought more for himself.
Sure.
Meg, our project manager, she was living out in California, working on a film set. And she came here to be my project manager. She's crushing it. Yeah. And she came here, she probably had 10 properties when she came here. And I think she has like 30 properties now too. Wow. Just from being around it. And I've sold them, like the street I just told you I sold off of, they each bought like 2 of them on that street that I sold off. So I'm selling them, and they're buying them, and they're cash flowing them, or, raising the rents. And so it's been pretty cool. Wow. We have some real estate agents on our team that have 2 and 3 properties. One has like 6. Like it's kind of, if you get around it, people that are investing in real estate, people that promote investing in real estate, I think it can be a good thing.
So are you focusing on multifamily now then? Or I guess you're still buying single family, but is that the main focus at this point?
We still buy single family. I bought, it's glamorous. I bought a trailer yesterday for $55,000.
All right.
Okay, does that sound glamorous? Probably not, right? No. So we bought it in Chambersburg for $55,000. It was on the MLS literally for one day, 4 months ago, and we put an offer in that day, cash, waived every inspection, and it has a 2-car garage. And my brother tells me we can rent it for like $1,500 a month. Wow. So we went and borrowed from an investor the $55,000, and we're gonna put $20,000 in to make it nice. So $75,000 all in. Yeah. Let's do some math. Doesn't hurt to do that. I think we'll use 9%. So $75,000. I think we're paying 9%. So you just take it times 0.09 divided by 12. There's the payment. There's our interest-only payment to this investor. This investor is fine with interest-only, I think. We have $40 for the insurance a month. And then let's do plus taxes, $130 a month. There's my cost per month. Now so we bought it. It's all fixed up. It's a trailer, so it's not like I could even go to a bank and get financing for it. So I have to roll. If I'm going to refi this later, I've got to figure out a way to roll it into a mortgage or something. Maybe a different mortgage where it's not tied to that one, because it is a single-wide mobile home with a nice 2-car garage.
Sure.
We'll get you a picture here today. So there's what. So $732 a month is my cost. My brother tells me we can rent it for $1,500, and we're going to question him on that in a little bit. There's how much we make a month.
Right.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
there's not many deals. I just told you, most people want to make $200 to $300 a month. Now, we wanted the title on the trailer, and that's what took 3 months for the attorneys to figure out and order a new title and whatnot.
Okay.
So we'll be 75. Actually, we borrowed 85 from the investor, so we covered our closing costs, and we have a $5,000 buffer. So this payment might go up. This net profit will probably go down like $20 because we took an extra 10 grand.
Right.
So that was one deal we just did yesterday. I like to do deals that I'm going to make $700 a month on. So I'll buy singles and doubles if I'm very profitable.
Sure.
If I'm not, I'm not doing it.
Okay.
I think I have a 2-unit that we bought in Chambersburg. I mean, that thing makes like 2-unit. It makes like $900 a month, and I have substantial equity in it too to sell it. So, yes, I have an acquisition. I have a guy that is looking. His name's Joe, and Joe is my acquisitions guy for multifamily. So he is looking every day for multifamily. He's a rock star. He's only been here 6 months. So last year I didn't buy anything because I couldn't find anything. Yeah. Like I just gravitationally found deals the last couple years just from word of mouth and people I've known. Sure. And I got tired of that not happening anymore. So I said I'm going to hire somebody, and we decided to hire somebody, and we've got 2 deals under contract in 6 months. Wow. Actually 5 months, but this is the 6th month here he's been here. Okay. And we have another one. We have another 98 unit on the hook right now too.
Wow, that's a substantial property.
Yeah. So the nice thing about the large multifamily is we get acquisition fees for putting the deal together. So the 98 unit, for example, if we were to get under contract, it could be $250,000 acquisition fee, which we share between some of the company. Sure. And then we have monthly cash flow. We have huge depreciation. I get lots of depreciation on that project, and I put none of my own money in if I don't want to. How's that sound?
Yeah, how'd you get to the point where you weren't putting in your own money and you were able to find the financing for?
So we were buying houses a few years ago. The first couple we bought creative financing, FHA, and say we're going to live in the house, and then we don't, and then so FHA is a good way to buy like a 4-unit, like a 1 to 4 unit is what I always recommend people, because go in one, live in one, have the other 3 tenants pay your rent. 100% the best way to do it. Once you figure out how to work, like let's say you own a 3 or 4 unit, now you can tell people, hey, I'm a real estate investor, I'm doing good, I know how to do this. It's all about finding a deal. If you can find a deal,
the deal finds the money.
You can find the money. So like my brother was showing houses to these other guys in Carlisle. They were buying houses left and right. And their investor guy was coming with them, and he was the one giving them the money for all the deals. So finally, after a while of my brother doing that, he said, would you do it for me? Like we already own 30 properties. We can do what these guys are doing. And his name is Denny. We call him the Bank of Denny. So like 7 or 8 years ago, like we would find a house in Carlisle, and we'd call Denny up and say, Denny, do you have money for us? And Denny would say, yep, and we would go buy it. $30,000, $20,000. I bought houses for $20,000. I need $20,000 to fix it up. Denny would give us a check for $40,000. Wow. Over and over and over and over. And I was nervous. I'm like, why am I buying? What happens? We're going to buy all these houses and not know what to do with them. And one day I was sitting down with Denny. He says, Rob, you're going to look back on this day and wish you bought more. And now I do. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. So, but finding private money. Now we have 3 or 4 people now that will just give us private money on deals. Sure. So you work up to it, and you ask people, and you tell them you're doing what you're doing, and you just start building a database of people. We were already realtors, so we had a lot of connections for doing that for 10 years. Okay. So we just morphed that into, getting some money to do those. Sure. And now those people are putting money in the large multifamily deals. They just learn to trust us. Yeah. Okay. So just like relationships built. Yep. We have We have one investor has $11 million in our multifamily deals.
Wow.
But we learned this weekend, I need someone with 50 million or 60 million that can put it all into deals. That's how we can go to new construction and bigger and
Yeah, next level.
A class stuff. Not necessarily in Carlisle. Then we could go out to nicer cities and.
Yeah. How do you manage projects that are, not local?
Our farthest one right now is an hour and a half. So we
Right.
usually have on-site property managers, and then we
Okay.
build an asset level above them from our home office that oversees them.
Okay.
So that Rob Nylinger's not worried about if that unit is rented. I've got someone in my office that's worried about that.
Sure.
Then I look at monthly financials and look at it all. It takes about 2 hours to go over them all.
Okay.